So let us take some very simple examples. So let us say that you are asked to find the sine inverse of the value half. So let us take certain examples. Sine inverse of root 3 by 2. Sine inverse of 1 by root 2. Sine inverse of 1. Sine inverse of minus 1. Sine inverse of minus 1 by 2. Sine inverse of minus root 3 by 2. So on, let us try to find these values. Now, what is the meaning of sine inverse of half? What is the meaning of sine inverse of half? So we have already seen that inverse functions take in numbers and gives out the values of angles. So sine inverse of half is some angle theta which belongs to the range of sine inverse. That is, if a number goes inside sine inverse function, this number has to belong to the domain of sine inverse. What is the domain of sine inverse? Minus 1 to 1. So you should make sure that the numbers which are going in are in between minus 1 and plus 1. So if the number is outside minus 1 and plus 1, sine inverse will not be defined. So half is in between minus 1 and plus 1. So it is okay. And what are the numbers that comes out? What are the angles that comes out of sine inverse? That is the range of sine inverse, which is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. That means sine inverse of whatever number you have, you always get an answer in between minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. So now, once you understand this, sine inverse of half is an angle which belongs to minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. That is minus 90 degrees to plus 90 degrees. Such that if sine inverse goes onto that side, you get sine theta is equal to half. So if I ask you sine inverse of half, you need to give me some angle in between minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 whose sine is equal to half. So now just think about the values of sine theta. So for what value of theta is sine equal to half? Pi by 6, right? Pi by 6 or 30 degrees. And remember, sine theta will be half for many angles. In trigonometric equations, we have solved this equation. Sine theta is equal to half has a general solution of n pi plus minus 1 whole power n times pi by 6. This is a general solution. But the answer that we write here is that particular solution which lies in between minus 90 and plus 90 degrees. So sine inverse of root 3 by 2 correspond to which angle? Sine is root 3 by 2 correspond to 60 degrees, right? So the answer will be pi by 3 or 60 degrees. Sine inverse of 1 by root 2 correspond to which angle? Is sine equal to 1 by root 2, 45 degrees. The answer is pi by 4 or 45 degrees. Corresponding to which angle sine theta is equal to 1? Pi by 2 or 90 degrees. So this is how you find the values of sine inverse. Sine inverse of minus 1. So corresponding to which angle is the value of sine theta equal to minus 1? So if you draw the quadrant diagram for sine theta is positive in the first two quadrants negative in the second two quadrants. And we are searching for an angle from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. We are not searching for angle here. The answer is always from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Now, if you have a negative number inside sine inverse, you get an angle in the fourth quadrant. So sine inverse of minus 1 is minus pi by 2 or minus 90 degrees. Similarly, sine inverse of minus half. Where will sine be equal to minus half? According to the convention, you have to take the fourth quadrant angles. So minus pi by 6 or minus 30 degrees. Sine inverse of minus root 3 by 2 is minus pi by 3 or minus 60 degrees. So if you have a positive number inside sine inverse, you get an acute angle. If you have a negative number inside sine inverse, you have a negative angle. That is an angle in the fourth quadrant. So let us do the same analysis for cos inverse and see how the values change. Next, let us try to see how to find the values of cos inverse. Again, cos inverse is a function which takes in numbers between minus 1 and plus 1 and gives out angles between 0 and pi. So if you draw the quadrant diagram for cos, cos is positive here, negative, negative, positive. And the range of cos inverse is 0 to pi. So the answers that you get here are some angles between 0 and pi. And if a positive number goes inside cos inverse, you get numbers in the first quadrant. If negative numbers go inside cos inverse, you get numbers in the second quadrant. That's the difference between sine inverse and cos inverse. For positive numbers, both sine inverse and cos inverse gives you angles in the first quadrant. But for negative numbers, cos inverse gives you angles in the second quadrant, sine inverse gives you angles in the fourth quadrant. What is cos inverse of 0? Cos inverse of 0 is some angle theta which belongs to 0 to pi such that cos theta is equal to 0. So for what value of theta cos is equal to 0? Pi by 2, right? So the answer here is pi by 2 or 90 degrees. Similarly, cos inverse of half. For what value of theta cos is half? 60 degrees. The answer is pi by 3. Cos inverse of 1 by root 2, pi by 4. Cos inverse of root 3 by 2, pi by 6. Cos inverse of 1. For what value of theta cos is 1? 0. Be clear about this. Cos 0 is 1, so cos inverse of 1 is 0. What is cos inverse of minus 1? So for what value of theta, the value of cos is minus 1. So the answer is pi, right? So we have to go to the second quadrant. Minus 1. So we have pi as the answer. Minus root 3 by 2. Minus root 3 by 2. So plus root 3 by 2 corresponds to pi by 6. So you have an allied angle here. Is pi minus pi by 6 is 5 pi by 6. Minus half. Correspond to half, you have 60 degrees. Correspond to minus half, you have an allied angle in the second quadrant. Pi minus pi by 3 is 2 pi by 3. So here also you have pi minus pi by 4 is 3 pi by 4. Next, let us go for the values of tan inverse. Next, tan inverse of certain numbers. So, tan inverse takes in values which are real numbers and gives out values which are in between minus pi by 2 and plus pi by 2. So, if you draw the quadrant diagram for tan, plus minus plus minus. And our range is in fourth and first quadrants from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. That is, if a positive number goes inside tan inverse, the answers will be in the first quadrant. The angles that you get will be in the first quadrant. And if negative numbers goes inside tan inverse, the answers will be in the fourth quadrant. The answers will be angles in the fourth quadrant. So remember this. So tan inverse of 1, the question is correspond to what angle tan theta is 1? Pi by 4, right? Tan inverse of 0 correspond to what value? The value of tan is 0. 0. Root 3 pi by 3. 1 by root 3 pi by 6. Tan inverse of infinity. So usually this doesn't happen because infinity is not a number. But if the number inside this tends to infinity, the value of tan inverse of that number tends to pi by 2. Similarly, if you have a negative number, you get an allied position in the fourth quadrant. Tan inverse of minus 1 by root 3 is minus of pi by 6, the allied position. Tan inverse of minus root 3 is minus pi by 3. Tan inverse of minus infinity is 10 into minus pi by 2. So I hope you're understanding how to find the values of inverse trigonometric ratios. We do the similar analysis for cot inverse, secant inverse as well as cosecant inverse. So to understand cot inverse, let us draw the quadrant diagram for cot inverse. So the quadrant diagram for cot inverse looks like this. So cot is positive here, negative here, positive here, negative here. And the range of cot inverse is from 0 to pi. So we draw this. So if you take positive numbers inside cot inverse, you get angles in the first quadrant. Cot inverse negative number, you get angle in the second quadrant. So cot inverse of root 3. So for what value of theta is cot equal to root 3? Pi by 6. So this answer is pi by 6. Cot inverse of minus 1 by root 3. So you have a negative number here. So you go to angle in the second quadrant. So first find the allied angle. It is, what is cot inverse of 1 by root 3? For what angle will cot theta be 1 by root 3? The answer is 60 degrees. That means correspond to 60 degrees, the value of cot is plus 1 by root 3. So if you want cot theta is equal to minus 1 by root 3, it happens in the allied position. So what is the allied position of pi by 3 in the second quadrant? Pi minus pi by 3 is 2 pi by 3. Secant inverse of 2. Again, what is the quadrant diagram for secant inverse? So secant is positive here, negative here, negative here. And the range of secant inverse is 0 to pi. This is how you draw the diagram. Now, if positive numbers goes inside secant inverse, you get angles in the first quadrant. If negative numbers goes inside secant inverse, you get angles in the second quadrant. Secant inverse of 2. For what value of theta is secant equal to 2? Pi by 3. For what values of theta secant is minus 2 by root 3. Negative number, you want to go to the second quadrant. First find the allied position in the first quadrant. So for what value of theta, secant theta is 2 by root 3. If secant theta is 2 by root 3, cos theta has to be root 3 by 2, which implies theta is equal to pi by 6. So corresponding to pi by 6, secant theta is plus 2 by root 3. So correspond to what value will secant theta be minus 2 by root 3? Allied position. Pi by 6, the allied position is pi minus pi by 6. 5 pi by 6. Secant inverse of minus root 2 correspond to root 2, the angle is pi by 4. Correspond to minus root 2, the angle is pi minus pi by 4. 3 pi by 4. Next, cosecant inverse, cosecant inverse, cosecant inverse. Same thing. What is the quadrant diagram for cosecant inverse? Plus, plus, minus, minus. And the range is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 except 0. So what is cosecant inverse of root 2? First quadrant pi by 4. Cosecant inverse of minus 2. First find the allied position in the first quadrant. Cosecant is equal to 2 corresponds to pi by 6. So cosecant inverse of minus 2 is minus pi by 6. Minus 2 by root 3 correspond to 2 by root 3, we have pi by 3. Correspond to minus 2 by root 3, we have minus pi by 3. So I hope you are understanding how to get the values of inverse trigonometric ratios.